Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and in this short video we're going to discuss events that took place during the previous 12 hours. The Russians made another massive attack all over the entire Ukraine. The explosions were in Kharkiv, and the sources are saying that there were few waves of attacks exactly in direction of this town and this settlement. And the Ukrainians are saying that the Russians were using not just the Kalibrs rockets, missiles X-555 or X-101 or other types of missiles. The Russians were using modernized and upgraded Iskander-K system. There are still no updates about the real damage that the Russians managed to deal by those attacks in Kharkiv, and we expect that today they will provide more information. Another epicenter or the area of massive missile attack is the area between Dnipro and Zaporozhye. As you can see, there are a lot of icons in this area. The sources are saying that there were explosions inside the Dnipro itself or in the vicinity of Dnipro, and another wave of attack went in direction of Pavlograd in the vicinity of this town settlement. If you remember, a few weeks ago the Russians made another attack, and there was like a plant, a factory that were producing fuels for the rockets, and there was a very heavy explosion. And since that day, the Russians made at least 2 or 3 waves, attacked additional 2 or 3 waves, and during the previous 12 hours, the final one, also were using the Iskander-K rockets systems and so on. Probably the Russians were trying to destroy more Ukrainian manpower and forces. Don't forget that Pavlograd is a very important logistic hub, and probably the Ukrainians started moving their forces to the south. Furthermore, for example, some sources in the Zaporozhye area are saying that the Ukrainians have already completed everything they need to prepare their greatest counteroffensive operation. So probably the Russians were trying just to prevent any attack from the Ukrainian side, at least on the 9th of May, because the Russians intelligence sources from intelligence are saying that probably the Ukrainians were planning to start some actions on the 9th of May, trying to destroy the Russian holidays, 9th Victory Day or something like this. But the sources are saying that after another missile wave of attack, the Ukrainians took a decision to change their plans, and probably they will launch their greatest offensive operation a little bit later, after the 9th of May. Another explosions took place in Zaporozhye area. Also, as you can see, the town is located right in front of the combat line. Probably the Russians were attacking manpower, the plants and the service centers that the Ukrainians were using to fix or repair their armored vehicles. Another wave of attack took place. The explosions were in Cherkasy. It's the central part of Ukraine, but for example, the Ukrainians are saying that during the previous night, the Russians launched around 17 missiles, and 15 of them were shut down by the Ukraine air defense system. So probably the explosions in Cherkasy was the result of the work of Ukrainian air defense system. And the same situation in Kiev. The Ukrainians are saying that they managed to shut down Hiraniums and missiles above this town. There were no explosions in Odessa, in the western part of Ukraine, so probably the Russians were trying to concentrate the positions of Ukraine position in Dnipro, Zaporozhye and Kharkiv right in the back, as the area that Ukrainians uses as a reserves of their main forces before the greatest counteroffensive operation in the south and in the defense operation of Bakhmut. More updates are coming from Bakhmut. As usually, the Russians continue their storming and offensive operation in this area, and this morning we got the freshest update about the situation in Bakhmut. Currently, the Russians are trying to push along Irina Levchenko Street. There are very fierce clashes along Talbukhina Street, and the Russians still try to establish control over Chernyakhovskoye and Medvedevo Street. So, as you can see, the Russians, as we see, passed by the Olympic School. There were no updates or any confirmation that they managed to enter and capture this small block. Furthermore, we see that there are still a street like Voinov Internationalistov, Lugovaya Street. These 2 streets are still under Ukrainians' control, and they are able to use them at least for evacuation purposes. We see that Khromova still remains under Ukrainian control. So there are still like a real fortification, and there are still a lot of job to do for Wagners. When talking about the Citadel, we haven't received any updates during the previous night. There were no photo or video confirmations about any bombings or shelling this area. Probably they took place, but not so massive as a few days ago. So probably we are going to see more updates today about the situation in Bakhmut. Today is the 9th of May, the Victory Day. The Russians all over Russia and many other countries like Belarus and the countries of ex-Soviet Union are celebrating this great holiday. So probably the special forces of these countries expect some provocation from the Ukrainian special forces. And I hope that Ukrainians are not going to make any like terrorists or any action that may cause a lot of losses among civilians. But the previous week of massive missile attack, I believe, can force the Ukrainians to act and to do a lot of stupid things. And that's it for this short video. Thank you for watching Military Summary channel. Reminds to condemn any violence in Ukraine. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.